Wanted to give a context of where I come from. So I graduated with an electrical engineering degree from a institution called IITs, which is called the Indian Institute of Technology in 1991. And IITs is, if you were to call in American terms, it is the Harvard or the Stanford of schools of America. And I think getting in is extremely difficult, and my story begins from there. So I'm kind of talking you through the story, my story. I'm going to talk to you my story, and where I've kind of realized the what truly success means in a corporate world. Because when we start working and start doing things and getting into careers, a lot of people tell us a lot of things, and I'm just going to tell you my journey and help you give some examples of what has happened. So almost in 1987, when I was walking down the IIT Delhi campus, and as I was going there to see my results, whether I passed the exam or not, because almost only 0.1% of the people who give the exam pass that exam. So, and it is like all over India exam. So it was a huge endeavor for somebody who's getting in there. So to me, as I was walking up the road, I saw my classmate, my friend, who was a brilliant fellow who worked very hard, and he's coming down dejected, walking down the aisle, and he was saying, and then when I met him and asked him, hey, what happened? Did you get a rank, or did you qualify? Did you get into the institution? He basically said he didn't make it. I was like shocked, because he was one of the most brilliant fellows I knew. And I lost my self-confidence, because when I saw his dejection, I said, how will I make it? And but I continued to walk down the path to see where my results were. And as I saw on the campus, there was a list of it's sort of the paper which was stuck on the wall of the main campus of IIT Delhi. And I scrolled down my roll number, and I saw my roll number was there in the rank, and I was overjoyed. I thought I conquered the world. And I'm sure if any of you were in my position, you would do the same. In a few weeks' time, I also saw the results of IIT Roorkee. At that time, it was called University of Roorkee. And my rank there was much higher, and I was able to get what I wanted, which was electrical engineering. And I applied for that, and I kind of went and did my engineering program for 4 years there. But the thing is that, why I'm telling that story, because that story is a typical struggle of most of us when we come out of school, which many of us either are trying to engineering or medical or something, and they are not able to either get it, or they get it. If they don't get it, they're extremely dejected, and they feel, I have lost success, and I won't be able to make it in the corporate world. And I think that's the attitude which we come from. And we think that getting into these top schools, or perhaps getting into the top programs, is what success means. To me, today, after 27 years, I think, for working across 3 different continents, traveling across from all the way from India to the US today, and working with different industries, I have a different understanding of success, and I want to kind of share that with you for today. What true success means in corporate world. Everybody is in a rat race. Everybody's trying to aspire for 3 major things. The first is money. Second is power. Third is position. You tell me, no matter what industry is, what organization is, everybody is striving for those 3 key things. And I think even I started off my journey with IIT with that same passion. I wanted money, I wanted power, I wanted position. But when we don't get many of those things, we struggle, and we kind of we think we didn't achieve success there. So let me make and the problem is that the society in general pushes us in that direction. Our society does, our parents do, our friends do, and we start comparing with others. And I think that is, to me, is not very extremely detrimental for a lot of people, because to them, success looks like failure, as a matter of fact, many times. And because of that push, because of how the world pushes us, or the world perceives us. To me, let me make an upfront statement here. When people only focus on their career or to make money, they will have a miserable life, and they will never tell that to anybody. As a matter of fact, many of those things, how their life is going on, it is hidden under the millions of dollars they might have made. Ironically, that is where the struggle is. So today I'm going to share with you 4 things that assure us succeed in life, because when you succeed in life, you will succeed in the corporate world. It has a direct correlation to everything that you do, because many times we think a career, oh, that's my goal, that's my intention. But when we don't mix the two and understand the correlevancy between the two, you will see struggle there. So I have 4H, like H for H for Harry, or 4H for success. The first is being happy. The second is being hungry. Third is being humble. And finally, realizing the harmony. Those are the 4H, which I would say is the true success being in a corporate world. The first is being happy. Many of us land up picking up careers or jobs which we think, hey, this is going to make me more money. Right now in this current world, everybody thinks computer science is the end and is the way to go and start applying. I mean, I'm not denying that's not bad, but it is definitely good. But the struggle is, will that bring you happiness? Is the question we need to ask to truly understand what corporate success is all about. Many times we get into jobs and we are stuck with it, we are frustrated with it, and we don't perform well, and then we are either blaming our manager, we are blaming ourselves, and we constantly keep moving forward in that direction. So I too landed up with IIT with that thought process. But and the struggle was that I would work hard and do all kind of things, but the happiness would never existed. And that's when I discovered a powerful principle. And actually I learned from my roommate in IIT. This guy would go to class and come back and study a little bit, and out of the blue, he would come as one of the toppers of the class. While on the other side, me, I would work hard like crazy, and I was somewhere in the middle of the whole class. And I was wondering, what is so different about what he does and what I do? And I had no clue. I couldn't figure it out. Why I am not able to succeed, even though I was studying hard and pursuing and trying to move in that direction, why success was not coming for me. I couldn't figure it out. Many years later is actually when I realized this principle, is that because when I look at my roommate, he lives about 20 minutes away from where I live right now. And we stay connected after almost 25, 27 years. And he is the only one, he's one of the few, let me say this, one of the few who has stayed in the core electrical engineering program. While many of us, like me, who moved into computer science, I also moved into management, did my MBAs, or somebody moved into finance. They moved into different directions after doing their electrical engineering class. We had about 60 people, and out of that 60, I'm guessing it's only 4 or 5 who are still in that core, and one of them is my roommate. And today, when I see, he has patents under his name. He works with a Fortune 500, and he's a general manager in his company. He's exceeding, his success has taken him up the ladder. Now, to me, when I started correlating everything, what I saw was that he's still in electrical engineering because he had the passion for it. He loved it. And doing what you love brings happiness. And that is success. Because if you do not have that passion to do what you need to do, you will not succeed. My friend was able to do well in class is because he enjoyed sitting in class. While some of us, like me and others, we were just fooling around. We didn't care about it. We didn't like the classes. So honestly, what happens is that we sometimes, because of our family pressures or society pressures, we start doing things which is not something we enjoy. We need to discover what is our passion, what is things where we enjoy to do. Today, when I look at my niece, Emma, who is actually doing a bachelor's degree in arts with a desire to do visual communication, I was wondering why she's picking up that program. But and I respected what she picked up, and she started doing this program a year back, and a couple of months back, she started showing me some of her graphic design pictures and things that she had developed, I was amazed at her creative skills. She was not great in school. She didn't get great grades, but today I see her exploring her passion, and her passion is helping her reach the height of creativity what she can get to. And I believe I'm thankful for my brother too, because he allowed his daughter to explore the things that we that she could explore. And today she's doing, not because she's forced into some program that she hated. As a matter of fact, I believe, God willing, that she will do well in her career because she is in a point of passion. For her, what she does, she finds passion, she finds joy. We find, to me, success equates with happiness. Success is when you enjoy every day, you go to work and you come back and say, hey, I'm satisfied with this. That is success. So just learn to discover your success. If you're just starting your career, start exploring where are the things you enjoy. Like for me, I was good at math and science. It was just my talent, but your talent doesn't mean that could be a passion. You have to learn to figure out that passion. Where does that joy come from? Where's that happiness comes from when you start doing the work? And that's when success comes. The second is being hungry. Being hungry is so important as for success, because knowledge, obtaining knowledge is a bottomless pit. As a matter of fact, no matter how much you study, there will always be something left, something all you need to keep doing. You need to be hungry to learn. You need to be hungry to know more. You need to be hungry to do more tasks. You need to be hungry to take on more responsibilities. And if you don't have that habit, or if you don't have that passion of being hungry or pushing forward with that hunger, I'm telling you, success is not going to come around you. Some years ago, I was talking to my senior vice president, and I was asking him, he was an Indian, and I started asking him, hey, how did success come? He was actually my age. And I asked him, how did he reach up the senior leadership level? And he said, Stanley, one key thing I've always kept: when people gave me tasks, I did not say no, and I went on taking new responsibilities. And as he went on taking new responsibilities, he was able to adapt to new technologies. He learned new things. He adapted to new ways of doing things. And as a matter of fact, when one of his managers, and he was just a programmer at that time, one of his managers who eventually rose up the chain, who became an executive vice president, guess whom he picks as a senior vice president? My manager, who became the senior VP, because of his attitude of being hungry to take on responsibilities as need. I'm not saying taking responsibility such that it kind of messes up your life, but as a matter of fact, having the balance and not saying no, not trying to be lazy. As a matter of fact, ironically, one key thing: one cannot be hungry without being hardworking. Laziness and lack of self-confidence is the biggest enemy for being hungry. As I look back, I remember studying almost 14 to 16 hours a day just to get in the exam for that 1 year to get me to that point. Hardworking is important. But we need to have a balance too. We can't just kind of jump around and do things such that we suffer our health, that we take on everything else. We don't have time to do anything else. As a matter of fact, this aspect of hardworking has ingrained in me even today. I went back and over the years, I started looking at areas where I was passionate about, what I could do better. As a matter of fact, today I have 2 master's degrees, and I'm happy at where I am. Happiness is ingrained in what I do in my work, and I'm enjoying. I look forward for going on a Monday morning to work, and the hunger is there. Every day I'm learning new things. I have on a project in my office where my organization is trying to explore new areas, and I said, you know what, I will do this. I will take on that responsibility. I want to learn. I want to understand the nitty-gritties of the stuff. My friends, what I can say is it's so critical for us to be hungry, for us to achieve success, because success is not what the world says. Success comes as you go through the process, and you will begin to see the joy. You'll see the hunger coming in. You will learn, and those become milestones in your life. As a matter of fact, as you learn, as you become hungry, as you learn, one of the key things is that it actually makes you bold. It makes you perceptive, and it helps you develop critical thinking skills. Because think about it, if a person is lazy and doesn't want to do anything else, he just sits back and say, hey, success is going to come on my own. No, it's not going to happen. As a matter of fact, we were talking with some of my leaders in my company, and we were talking about some resources who or people who were not doing extremely well. And we started looking at what is the real issue, why were they saying. And then one of my key resource, she mentioned, you know what, those people miss critical thinking skills. To me, immediately I realized how that it was their lack of hunger, lack of hardworking, lack of trying to learn the new stuff, trying to adapt, trying to take on new responsibility. That is what was leading them to have poor critical thinking skills. If you really want success, learn to be hungry, to adapt and change and learn, and you will see success just flowing. You don't have to run after success. Success will follow you as you move forward. And to me, when think about this, that resources, lack of critical thinking skills was not just affecting that person. As a matter of fact, affecting the whole team, the whole organization, and the products we were delivering for our customers. End of the day, your failure is like a ripple effect, which affects everybody. So you lack of hunger, or not being hungry to learn and adapt, it's going to not only affect you, but it's going to affect the whole organization. And so stay hungry. Your success will automatically come through. The third point is being humble. We can be passionate for our work, or we can be hungry for our work, but if we fail to be humble, or fail to serve others, we would have fully missed the mark of what truly success is, because all of this connects together. As a matter of fact, the world around us defines the word humility so incorrectly. And nowadays I've started seeing some of these TV celebrities, in walking down the aisle or talking or some talk shows, one of the key things they say that, oh, that person praised me, so I was humbled. As a matter of fact, that is not the true definition of humility. When somebody is praising you, you're not getting humbled. As a matter of fact, your ego is getting boosted. Your humility is not being displayed. Rather, it is their pride being displayed. So to my friends, humility in this world, the way that people define it, is completely corrupted. People don't recognize. You become humble. Humility gets displayed in you when you begin to work with others, when you begin to invest in others so that they do well, they succeed, and their success will kind of, you won't believe how it actually impacts you overall. When we care for others rather than for ourselves, when I'm not the focus, but they are the focus. I want to be a blessing for them and guiding them so that they can do well in their position. Recently, one of our business analysts who joined our company, she's a single mother, and she was struggling with to do well, and she asked me, as one of the leaders in the company, say, Stanley, what am I doing wrong? Can you help me there? And as a matter of fact, I sat with her, walked her through. I knew exactly where she was struggling with, and I pointed out each one of those things. And I did it out of because I've learned to kind of invest in others. That's something I've just ingrained in myself. And I just left it because it was part of my natural way of doing things, to help, being a help to others. And later, her boss comes back and writes to me, Stanley, thanks a lot. Really appreciate you helped her understand what the challenges were. To me, that was success. That success, that by being a blessing for somebody, how that people talk in an organization. People need to know who is the person, who's a leader you can go to. If you start investing in people, success will come on its own. Praises will come on its own. Recommendations will come on its own. As a matter of fact, when I look back my years of working, I look back at my old friend who was a CEO of a small company, and I remember he invested in me. He invested in my skills. He invested and encouraged me and move forward. Today, I look back and say, you know what? If he hadn't helped me, I would have failed tremendously, because there were so many crises happening in my life, which kind of almost got me to a point of failure. But his help. And today I actually tell him that he was instrumental in my success. As a matter of fact, when I look back, the joy that I had, as a matter of fact, the joy I've obtained was part of the reason because he invested in me. There are so many people I can give examples about how people have invested in me, and today I actually pay back. And that is humility. When you become humble enough to recognize you are not the most important person, but you need to build others, you become the leader that an organization wants to aspire to be part of. As a matter of fact, many years ago, one of the sales directors, he reached out to me and he needed some help on a proposal. And I started working with him, and I wrote down all the details, helped him through the thing, even though it was not affecting directly part of my task. But I know that he asked for help, and I offered and gave it to him. And we eventually got a multi-million-dollar contract. Ironic and interestingly, before he left the firm, he actually gave me a recommendation on LinkedIn. And that is still there. Now, when I go back and look at it, he himself appreciates the work I did. To me, that is a point of success. That is a milestone of success, because I just helped him, not because it was helping me or benefiting me, but it was benefiting him. That sales quota would have helped him, not me. And to me, I was not just looking at my division, but I was looking at my organization and the company as a whole. So my dear friends, what I'm really trying to say is that when you stay humble, when you start looking at success for others, and you consider others more important than you, humility will just display and success will just flow in, and it will bring in success in so many different ways you will not imagine. And finally is the point on is realizing the harmony. Life is all about balance. Hypothetically, if you were to think about this, if the body temperature of yours goes up by 2 or 3 degrees, or perhaps the gravitational pull of this earth kind of was to change, or perhaps the temperature or the pressure of this earth was to change, think about the life on earth. How will it be? If anything changes, it's all going to get disbalanced. Same thing is with our corporate life. When things in our life changes, when things in our life just gets disbalanced a little bit. So when we start thinking, one of the key things is people have made career as their idol. And the problem comes up is that when we start looking at our career, our corporate world, or working in the corporate world becomes so focused that we miss out our interaction with our family, with our children, with our friends. We won't have peace, stress increases. As a matter of fact, people get into alcoholism, part of the reason. They get depressed because they're not performing. The problem is that we fail to have balance, or perhaps if you were to say, we fail to have harmony between our work and our life. To me, if you maintain that balance, think about it. Monday morning when you go back to work, you're always fresh. You're always curious. Hey, how do I do this problem better? Because you have a balance there. When your family life is affected, your work life is going to be affected. It's going to mess you up completely. To me, today, when I look back and see my life, I'm so glad I spent time going to my son's tennis lessons. I was one of his greatest cheerleaders. Every time I was there, he would actually come back and say, "Dad, calm down, relax. It's okay. It's only a game." But the thing was that I was in the game with my son. My son knew that he could actually count on me. When my wife needs me for something, I'm there for her. Or if my sons were in a piano recital, or perhaps in their parent-teacher meeting, I'm there. I make an effort to keep that balance for my family, for my friends, and also be doing the due diligence, because end of the day, that balance is so critical. The harmony between your work and corporate life is so critical, because if anything messes up on your life, it's going to affect your corporate life, and you will not succeed if you get into this balance. You may achieve a little success trying to just focus on work. End of the day, it'll fall apart. And there is one person, I read about this story about a person many years ago. He said he was on his deathbed, and his only regret was that, I hope I had spent more time with my family. That was his biggest regret. He didn't regret about making more money. He didn't regret about getting the next promotion. He didn't regret about having a big mansion or a big car. Nothing mattered to him. End of the day, when we come to the end of our life, when we look back and see what is more valuable, you will begin to see it's that balance, that harmony. So the 4H is basically that harmony is so critical. So today, when you start having that balance, you will not succeed. Success will automatically flow in. You don't have to run after success. When you start becoming happy and being humble, and realizing the harmony, success will come further. I know it's a short time, but I'm going to close up with this. Many times you think, oh, this is a hard work for me. How can I achieve this? To me, when I look at my own life, I don't think so I could have achieved this on my own. To me, it was a strength which was given to me much greater by God. To me, it is impossible for me to have achieved all what I have done, or be able to get the right balance, or being hungry or being happy. It was impossible because, when I look at myself, I said, you know what, I'm as screwed up. It's so screwed up. I can't do all these things. How can I maintain it? How can I get favor with my bosses or with my colleagues? I may land up saying the wrong thing, or perhaps I may land up doing the wrong thing, or make mistakes, or just life in general happens where you just don't know where to go about it. To me, I believed my foundational principle is, if your foundation of your house is not right, I believe the house is going to someday break apart. And my foundation stands on God. And that is what has helped me understand these pillars of success, these 4H of success: being happy, being hungry, being humble, and realizing the harmony. That I have realized God is on the throne. He is the creator of everything. He's created me. And it actually helps me see that when I go to work, as a matter of fact, I think I'm working for God. It is my workplace. It is my place of ministry. It's my place where I need to do exceedingly well, because God, I'm not able to see, but He knows. I know that He is seeing my work. When I do my work, I do it efficiently. I do my work. I don't steal. I make sure everything is done accurately and efficiently in the best possible way I can, with all my ability, with all my talents, but I do rest on His strength. Another thing is, I know God owns everything: the jobs, the work, the cars, the houses, this world, the trees and the stars, everything God owns. When you start recognizing God is the owner of everything, who are we? The way I see it, I'm a good steward. I'm actually responsible. Everything that He has given to me, am I being faithful with what He has given to me? That's what a good steward means. As a matter of fact, I become accountable for it. If, as a matter of fact, there is a reference in the Bible, the person who is lazy, he should not be given food to eat. To me, that's a very strong statement. It's actually talking about people who don't work hard, who want to be lazy. Hey, that is the standard at which He's expecting you and me to be working hard. He's expecting us to do well in our careers, in our workplaces, in our homes. And that's what's going to take us to the next direction. To me, most of all, I believe my strength comes from God, because He loves me. And I believe He loves you too. He kind of, because John 3:16 says, for God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, Jesus, and those who believe in Him and trust in Him, and they will be saved. To me, that strength, that power, that anointing, that passion, that has helped me do well, both in the corporate and in my other passion things that I do, that God has given me the passion to do. To me, and two main principles that Jesus basically said in the Bible was that fact that he said, love God and you also love your neighbors. To me, that's the aspect of being humble. As you're becoming humble, you start looking at others and doing well and supporting them and helping them to be able to do well, because I want others to succeed. I don't want to keep becoming jealous of their success. I don't want to become prejudiced. I don't want to be, that's when unity is there within the diversity of the people whom we interact with whom we work. So, that is so critical as part of our life in both in the corporate world and in the world to come. So with that, I know um, God loves me, but he also loves you. And life becomes more meaningful and purposeful when we start following God. And so I encourage you, if you, any of you, you don't know, you struggle with areas where you're not able to do things, I encourage you to trust God. I encourage you to seek God on a daily basis. To me, I realize every day in the morning, I try to spend time in the Bible, try to spend time in prayer to say, God, I'm going into a big meeting. I need help. I don't know how to solve this problem. To me, that's part of my hunger, which is there. But in that hunger, I'm also depending on God in everything that I do. But no matter if I'm walking with man or with God, or if I'm presenting myself to the common man, to my managers, to my leaders, I see success. Today, I'm happy and I'm rejoicing where I am for what I've done. And I look back and I see the careers of my sons, where they are, what they have achieved, the passion they have followed, and they are succeeding in their careers, and they're moving in that direction. And I see is because I have allowed myself not to force them to do things they want. As a matter of fact, I said, hey, trust God, and God will bring you the success. And he will take you through I help you identify those passions that you have. Where do you think you can do well? So I'll close with that, with the statement that, I'm always there to help. Even if today, if you need help on doing something today, one of the key things I do is I support a lot of people who come to the US and they don't know how to apply for jobs or write resumes. One of the key things I help is in that aspect, because nobody taught me how to do it. I had to work hard to get to there. But today I give back, and I saw a lot of people getting blessed through that blessing I provided. This was not part of the job, but this was something else I was trying to help people. But I thank you, Siddharthi, for this opportunity, and I'll give it back to you. That's all I had to say. I know the time is up for now.
Thank you very much, Brother Stanley. I appreciate that. We have had a few questions that came in. And so I will start off with those questions for you. First one is, do you have any advice for someone on dealing with a manager who has narcissistic and sociopathic tendencies?
Yes, I've had managers like that. I will not deny it. The corporate world is brutal. It is not easy if you don't, and that's where my suggestion to you is be faithful to your job. Do your job extremely well. And in spite of that, if things are not well, I would say pray to God and ask God, can you open another door for me where I could move on and do well? Because there are some people whom you can never change. You can only do so much. Beyond that, it is difficult. Sometimes God either moves them away, or perhaps God opens a new door for you. To me, in one case, I had a person move away because I was struggling through it. As a matter of fact, our whole company, there were a couple of people. There was an older lady who was actually sitting in his cubicle, and she came out crying. And I had to go and encourage her and help her to be stable. Today, even I'm in friends with her, even after 15 years of working with her. Because that moment time, because we had a narcissistic manager, but God just moved that person away from that job. So I'm so thankful that I was able to depend on God and strength, because I don't think so we on our own can handle situations like that. But I encourage you, be faithful, do your job well. Don't try to stay away from not doing well, because that's a God-given responsibility we have.
Okay. Next question is, how do you deal with burnout? It says burnouts happen to all people, even those in the field that they enjoy. Any advice on that?
Yes, and I think that comes with discipline. I think each of us, we need to have that discipline to take out the time. Today, I take out the time to go for a nice walk. I do like 45 minutes, 50 minutes of a walk in the morning. Then I do stretching and exercises. So keep my body strengthened. I'm telling you, when you start having those balances, I said having the harmony, if I said that was so critical. And I think it doesn't come with a standard structure or a template. You have to figure it out because each of us is so different and our passions are different. But burnout is not good. Burnout is going to kill you, destroy you, bring depression, bring all kind of alcohol. And yes, it is there. I believe you have to be intentional about bringing harmony into your life. If you're not intentional, I don't drink alcohol, but temptations are all out there. When I am stressful, I ask God, take this stress away. How do I solve this problem? I come to God and ask for strength. As I said in the beginning, it is impossible for us to go through life without the help of God. To me, I encourage you to have a discipline, seek God for strength. And if needed, if you could find some other friends who could help you possibly, how do you solve this problem? Have a group of trusted friends to kind of help you through the day-to-day. How do I deal with some narcissistic managers, which could also be leading to a lot of burnout? That's where it's a real picture. It's not easy. Close with that.
All right. Another question says, well, as we know, you had a great piece of advice when you said, find what you love and do what you love for a job. Not everyone has that opportunity. So some people are in a job that they just kind of have to do, even though it's not what they're passionate about in their life for whatever reason. How can someone find happiness in a rat race life, living from paycheck to paycheck for corporate gains, perhaps in a job that they are not really thrilled about?
So my point is that I know sometimes we are stuck in a point, but my encouragement to you is, can you do your job well as if you are presenting to God? Your passion may be something else. Maybe perhaps, let me give an example. I remember watching this Indian movie long time. I think many of you guys might equate with that. It's the Three Idiots movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I love the movie. It was so powerful. It had a powerful message about how a person who was in engineering school who loved photography. To me, that movie had a powerful message, which I don't know which everybody caught it or not, but I did. To me, it kind of equates with what I do. If photography is your passion, I would say look forward and get your passion. But even when you are working, yes, we need the paycheck. Yes, we need to pay our mortgages. Yes, we need to pay our bills. We need to provide for our children. But can we learn to find something good in where we are doing? That's what I would encourage you. Find something good. Hey, why am I doing this? Find a purpose, even though it's a day-to-day job. To me, I've struggled to find a perfect spot for a long time. I'll be honest with you. It was not easy. There were times coming to America was not easy. It took me almost 15 years to get my green card. I struggled through it. I lost jobs. I had narcissistic managers. I had burnouts. My thing is that don't give up. Keep going forward. Praise God. Thank God for the day. Sometimes even in those situations, maybe God is helping you see to develop you, to make you better. Maybe sometimes he's developing patience in you. And that patience maybe be helpful when you deal with your kids when they mess up. You need that patience. God does different things and allows certain things to in our life in different ways. So I would say, be thankful to what the job is. Thank God that even though if it is a tough job, saying, Lord, I'm not very happy with this. Be transparent to him. Bring it to prayer to him and ask God, help me through this. I don't know how to solve this problem. And God will show you different ways. Either he will move you to a different position or he'll open doors, but he will do something. But end of the day, you will have the peace of God in your heart. Won't you want to go to work and find peace of God, that even though this job sucks or this job doesn't do well, I am not able to do anything. You want the peace of God in your life? Yes. And that, I'm telling you, it kind of surpasses all understanding. If people think trying to have a scientific attitude, and I'm telling you, my relationship with God has just increased because I see how he helps me, guides me when I'm in the toughest of situations. And I've had crises, I've had things where I was in a perfect storm. I have trusted God through my process, which has helped me in where I am. I may not be a CEO of a company, but I am satisfied. I'm happy. My children are doing well. I have a good house. I have a loving wife. I have friends who love me, care for me. I'm there for my friends. End of the day, I'm doing what I'm passionate about in a lot of different things, in my church, in other activities, in different ways. God just uses. So find good in what you're doing. Find your passion and do that, so that you're always thanking God for everything. And when you're struggling through your troubled day-to-day job, pray, ask God for help you find something positive in it. Don't start looking at the negative, because the negative will only draw you down.
I say, have patience. Yeah. Patience. How long does that take?
Patience is something and learned behavior. Patience doesn't come overnight. As a matter of fact, I tell people that if you want to learn patience, get married. And if you want to learn more patience, have children. And trust me, you will learn all of that above with all of these things happening.
For sure. I don't have patience. I stand at a microwave and go, hurry up. Okay.
Yes. And I think we are in a microwave generation. And unfortunately, everybody wants things immediately. I'm a go-getter kind of a guy, and I've learned to wait. And it's something, it doesn't come overnight. I'll be honest with you. These are not characteristics, and you don't become mature at 21. You can learn to have principles there, which will take you to a point. I remember seeing my 18-year-old son, when he was there, he would do all kind of things and he would not even depend on me. Now he's 26. He is working in a startup as a software engineer. And he's a very smart guy. But he talked to me and asked me, Dad, what do you think about this? He's coming to maturity to recognize that he can't do all these things alone. He still needs that to guide him on a lot of things. So we learn to depend and work on each other. I think maturity just grows as we learn. But my point is, if we start focusing on God, focusing on doing well, doing everything that you do, let you become the best employee in your company. Let the company recognize that. And I'm telling you, all these success aspects will just automatically flow.
Another question. This is based on some, I think based on some stories that have gone around the news from place to place. It says, in today's day and age, is it even possible to climb the corporate ladder without compromising your values? And I would assume this person means Christian values. Day after day, I come to believe it seems like an exception, not the rule. Putting others before yourself is the antithesis of what you should be doing in the corporate paradigm if you want to climb the ladder.
Yes. So here's what it is. Almost everybody who's risen up the corporate ladder, we have to recognize what is important for us. Are we ready to compromise on our moral values? Because as I talked about about the story about that person on his deathbed, when we start looking back, do you really want to compromise your morals? Do you really want to compromise on principles? Is money so much important for you? Is power so much important for you? Think about it, all the people who are at those levels. To me, be satisfied with where God is. If you are a CEO, a vice president, a director, or just a programmer, or a plumber, or even an electrician, it doesn't matter what your role is. Do your job well and be happy. Your happiness is what determines success. When you start looking at the world, there is a verse in the Bible which has kind of helped me over the years. It says that be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The world tells us differently. Ironically, that only gets us to trouble. It gets us to trouble. It gets us in things. And because it says, when you transform your mind, you will know the will of God. In Colossians 3, also verses 2 and 3, it talks about, don't focus on the things of the world, but focus on the kingdom of God, which is bigger. To me, your priorities have to change. When you're going to compromise your morals, if a woman is going to be sleeping around and trying to become the vice president of a company, honestly, I'm telling you, 10 years from there, she will regret everything what she's done. A guy who tries to cheat or maybe fudges numbers to improve his sales, and he tries to do well and portrays a different communication, end of the day, 15, 20 years later, he's going to regret about it. To me, that's not success. It's failure, end of the day. So you have to determine, what do you want to do? Do you want to compromise your morals and fail and regret all your life that, what did I do with life? As a matter of fact, there's always a saying, we came with nothing, we're going to go back with nothing. Or when you go to a graveyard, you will always see the name, and you will see 1955, died in 1971. There is a dash between that. That dash is all our life. In that dash is what determines what success is.
Right.
You cannot have tangible values that you can be appreciative of. And if you want to compromise your morals for a short-term success or a short-term happiness versus a long-term happiness, you have to determine, you have to become smart. You have to become perceptive. You need to have critical thinking skills. Honestly, when you start having those things, success will come. You will determine success. You will not be perturbed by the Joneses living next door because of the Porsche cars they bought, or perhaps the BMW they have, or perhaps the $1 million house they may have, or perhaps the $1 million they may have in the bank. You will be happy even if you have $50 in your bank. You will be happy. Can you attain that happiness? Because success is true success. That's why I was trying to say, this is true success. That only you will get to understand what God really wants from you. Because if you're not satisfied with this life, you will end up doing drugs, alcohol, and all kinds of things in this world. And yes, if you compromise, then you have to face the consequences. Because one day, start looking at all the news out there. Everybody who is succeeded and compromised, they have been caught one day or the other. And end of the day, what happens? Everything that they achieved is gone down the drain. To me, it's waste of time, or it doesn't make sense. It's not being practical.
All right. Looking down here to see what if there's any more. Here's a general question. How do you best manage work pressure and targets?
Yes.
There's an addition to it. It says, everyone is occupied in performing the best possible way to please the boss or corporation. What about our response to the Great Commission and making disciples and the Great Commission in the corporate world?
So
I don't know how those work together. You can give your best answer to that.
So I think people have a wrong impression, in my understanding. Let me be honest with you. You were hired to do a job, and which is different than the Great Commission. You can still be a Great Commission, because think about this. If you are being hired as an electrician, if you don't do your job, then you are not being representative of God or what you're called to do. If you go and talk, and you're just talking to people rather than doing your job, end of the day, you will be actually a kind of a shabby Christian, in my opinion. You need to do your job first, get that job done well, and then there is, yes, career pressure comes. There are times I've worked till 12 o'clock in the night. There are times I work, but it doesn't mean that's going to be the continuous pattern. The exceptions cannot be the norm, or perhaps they cannot be opportunities where we just keep being a continuous. There are professions out there where they work 14, 15, 16 hours a day. If that is your continuous life, you're going to get burnt out. You are not going to have a harmony of your life. You won't have a harmony. You won't have balance in your life. You're going to burn out somewhere or the other. And in that process, I don't think so you can represent God, represent Christ, you can represent anything, not even your family. Your family will get broken up, your children will hate you, your wife might leave you, because end of the day, what's happening? And then when all that happens, the impact is to your work. To me, yes, there are times where we need to work hard, and that is okay, but it should not be a continuous thing. Sometimes those targets and those are important. And I worked. I'm not saying I don't work, because I'm hungry. I'm always looking forward to learn, but that is not a continuous happen. I'm not expecting to be doing that for every week, every day throughout my career. That's going to burn me out. And the second part is the Great Commission part of it. And I feel this is a misconnection. You need to be respectful of the people you work for. You cannot force the gospel to people. You should not. As a matter of fact, that is a wrong way to do it. To me, be faithful to your friends, encourage them, build them. And if they are receptive to the gospel, if God doesn't move in their heart and mind, I don't think so you can do anything. That's what the gospel says in John 14.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is be a blessing for your colleagues. Be represent Christ in everything you do. And when people start asking, and I'm not saying go and preach the gospel. That is not what you are in the job for. You are hired for your job for a specific purpose. Do that first. If you don't do that, and if you're doing the other stuff, then you are a shame for God, actually. That's how I see it. To me, too many people think, if you really want to be an evangelist, go become an evangelist. Leave your job, become an evangelist. And that's a whole different topic in itself. So
Yeah.
be a blessing. So in my work, there are some people who know what I do and other stuff, but I try to become a blessing for somebody. And when you become a blessing for somebody, you are actually following the second commandment, to love others, you know.
Questions keep coming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we appreciate your time, and we know you're staying a little bit later now. So we appreciate your staying and your willingness to field these questions. Next question is, how you said be respectful to other people. Well, how do you deal with bosses who pick on you?
It's no different than a narcissistic boss. You can just pray for them. I would say pray for them. It is the hardest thing to do for a person who picks on you. I've tried it, because trust me. And I think one of the key things, what happens is, this is an aspect of forgiveness, which comes in. I think forgiveness, the way I understand is, it's a decision that we make so that we don't take offense to what the bosses might say. My encouragement to you is that every time your boss would say something or do something, get into a habit, maybe perhaps talk to them, saying, hey, what you're saying is hurtful for me. But if he is crossing his lines, that where corporate responsibility comes in, you have the full rights to reach up to your human resources and let them know that somebody is abusing you or saying things which are accusatory. You have the full rights as a human being, as an employee, to approach your HR or to report that matter. So I would not take that lying down. Just because we are Christians, just because we are humble, just because we are called, we don't take it lying down. We need to report those matters if people are abusing that. But we still have to give chance for them to improve, not just the first instance they say something, you forget, you react to them. My point is just wait, pray about it, forgive them, because when you forgive them, you don't feel like a vengeance towards them. But if they continue that pattern, and if they are continuing to obey, make sure you document everything. To me, I'm a big documenter of every bad behavior. If somebody does, I make sure I capture it. In the first instance, this happened. The second instance, this happened. The third instance, this happened. Because if you take it back to the HR and tell them, hey, this person is continuing to pick on me, and he is either abusing me, or perhaps, nowadays, especially with sexual interactions between men and women, there are people who are abusing women, or even women are abusing men. A lot of things happen in our corporate culture. If those things are just taken lightly and we just sit back, I think you're doing a disservice not only for yourself, your company, and your colleagues. So my thing is that don't aggravate the behavior by you accusing them or putting them down or fighting them or sending notes or putting on Twitter or putting it on. Be smart, be forgiving, and document things and report to HR if things are going out of control.
Okay. Little question here from someone who has this is all they say. It's a little hard. It says, no matter how hard I try, nothing comes easy, and it's hard to have a breakthrough. Any advice?
Depends.
I don't know what the person's thing is. The person may have, mental handicap of some sort or something. I don't know what it is, but it's a very general question. How would you respond?
I would say it depends, because I don't know what breakthrough
Mhm.
you're looking for.
Right.
I would I would ask you to do a couple of things. I mean, you see where, because depending upon what the issue is, where the struggle is, I would say the first I would actually say ask you to go back, go trust in God, go in prayer, maybe rest on God's word. That is one. The second is see if you can have people whom you trust, where you can share your struggles and see if they can help. If that also doesn't help, I would encourage you to go to a counselor. I think within
Mhm.
the Indian thought process, many of us think going to a counselor is a wrong thing, or perhaps as if my world is tumbling, I don't need to go to a counselor. Many times it's our ego which prevents us from going to a counselor. I'll be honest with you.
Mhm.
I'm an IIT graduate. I have 2 master's degree and I've gone to a counselor,
Yeah.
not because to critique myself, but the counselor, what actually the counselor does, the counselor rarely speaks. They're always listening to
That's
us.
true.
They never speak. They're basically making us speak our struggle. So it is an opportunity for us to pour out our struggles to a counselor, and they will probe saying, hey, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Have you thought about this? That's all
Mhm.
they say. They don't even recommend anything. End of the day, a good counselor does is he or she would make you find the solution that you need. That's a
Sometimes, but
counselor.
they also may have a tool, from their toolbox, like a
Yeah.
strategy, like a personal strategy that they can
Yes.
advise. I know I've been to one, and
Correct. Correct. Yeah,
depending
and
on
yes,
the things that you're struggling with, they might have like uh,
correct.
dealing with people. They may have some principles for dealing with difficult people that they can share with you, and they becomes like homework in a way. You give you a piece of paper, and it's got these lines of procedure that you can follow.
Yeah,
So it does help that way. Most of it
yeah,
is figuring out how to respond to your circumstances yourself, though, because you can't change them.
yeah. So there are times, but then there is also a very important aspect. What I have realized in my own life is that over the years, there are things we go through as we grow up in life. We have gone through struggles, and those struggles tend to become baggages as we grow older. We start working, and sometimes we respond to certain things which we unknowingly land up saying certain things. And I have observed, I have done an examination of myself over the years where I struggled with. One of the key things is when I was working on my first job right after IIT, it was a company in Lucknow, India, where my manager had come up the reins from being a clerk and he had become a manager. And I was an engineer straight coming out of school, getting
Mhm.
a good job, got a good salary, and I was doing exceedingly well. As a matter of fact, but my boss was extremely jealous of me. I didn't know that.
Mhm. Mhm.
End of the day, he created so much problems for me, and I eventually moved on after that. But what I realized is that after so many years, that the offense how he created a problem, that offense was still in my heart even after so many years. I
Mhm.
had no clue. So sometimes certain things happen. Maybe it is with your parents, maybe it's your siblings, maybe with people might have created problems. Those carry through life. And if you don't deal with those offense, as a matter of fact, I came to a point in life where I had a crisis where everything from my life was going wrong with my family, with my job, with my church, with everything passion, what I was doing passionate, everything was going wrong. And I didn't know why it was going wrong. And when I started examining myself, why am I struggling through this? And then I realized so many things over my life I had taken offense to, of wrong things happening to me, and I had not forgiven them. So to me, I took a time to forgive. So sometimes our struggles are bondages. So I think the word the Bible uses is spiritual bondages. We are
Mhm.
stuck with these bondages, which prevents us from succeeding, which holds us back. It's like a block. It prevents us to move forward. So I encourage you to take maybe an inventory, maybe pray about it, and ask God, God, is there something from my years before where I got hurt, I took offense about, or if there is baggage which needs to be dealt with. Sometimes that is a way where counselors can help, maybe friends can help, or pastors can help. And I've done my own examination. So I think it was a God-given gift God just gave me that, I need to examine myself. So, those are all the things that we can do as part of doing well, both in corporate, in church, in your family, everything together. Success is balance all across together.
Mhm. How you doing on time? Are you still okay with hanging in there?
I'm good.
Okay. Another question says, I'm not as brilliant as you, but my mental health is crippling. My family life is a mess. I'm a mess. How can I succeed?
I would disagree with you. You might think because I'm a graduate of IIT, I'm smarter than you. Honestly, that's a misnomer. That's what the world tells us. I am coming to realize there are so many areas of life where I am an absolute failure. You asked me to talk about arts, you talked me about music, you talked to me about sports. I'm an absolute failure in that. When I look at some of the sportsmen or the people who create arts, I'm amazed. Where did they get the skill set for? My point is that don't look at others, but look at yourself. What is the God? Every person has a unique gifting. God has created you with a gift. God has created you very uniquely, and He has blessed you with something. You just have to discover it and find it and do well in it. So don't compare yourself. And I think this is a big wrong thing. I think growing up in India, which was a big, where I struggled the most was that my dad would compare me with somebody else's kid. I said, hey, his kid is doing well. What are you doing? You're not getting grades at all. That was my thing in high school. And I struggled through high school. I'll be honest with you guys. My dad did not think I will pass 10th grade. That's how that is how I was. And I had to discover myself through the process. The world around us will force us to make us think that the other person is better. I'm telling you, God has given you, each one of us, like there is a story in the Bible where there's the 1 talent, the 2 talents, and the 3 talents. So each of us have been given certain giftings, and it has certain intensity. We are called to be faithful stewards. In the Bible, his purpose is that we are called to be faithful to what has been given to us. If your gifting is only 1 talent, can you use that 1 talent to produce 1 talent? If somebody has been given 3 talents, or let's say I'm just giving talent as a talent is a if you don't understand what a talent is,
No, it's good.
yeah, is a token of money. For if some people who don't understand from the Bible is that think about this talent as like a skill or even money, something. Think about that way. And if God has given you the gift to encourage, be an encourager. If God has asked you to become a builder, become a good builder. If God has given you a good skill set to become some women are really good in cooking. If that is your passion and cooking, do well in that. Feed others with your skill set. Be a blessing for others. Find the skill set that God has given you. We are all not same because of that. I have 5 fingers. They're all different size. I have 2 boys. They are so extremely different. Both of them have different passions. Find your passion. What has God gifted you with? And you will do well. Don't compare with me. Don't compare with others. That is not God. God did not create you after looking at Stanley. Think about this way. God created you because according to God's will, He had presented you. You are unique in God's sight. He loves you, cares for you. You are a unique piece which doesn't exist across the world. So you need to discover yourself, and that you can discover it with the help of God. And I discovered myself. I might have done well in my IIT exams, but that did not make me a true success. Success came when I discovered God. And I realized it in my workplaces, in my home, in every areas. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm as screwed up. I'm sure if you ask my boys or my wife how screwed up I am, they will tell, oh, dad is messed up here, he's messed up here, he's messed up here. There are so many things. So don't look at the outward thing. Start trusting God that each of us are as screwed up as the other person is. We are as messed up as each other. Be happy with who you are and focus on that. I'm not asking you to love yourself, but as a matter of fact, I want you to say, what has God blessed me with? What is my unique strength and capability? Because the world is telling us a different story and it actually disappoints us. And I don't want you to do that. I encourage you to do something better.
We've covered a lot of the other questions that are on the screen here, similar to it. Let's see, let's do one more. This person says, my job doesn't pay enough and I don't have enough to care for my family and I have no peace. What can I do?
That's a very good question. So think about practically. Maybe I would say, what could you do different? So there are a couple of things. I don't know whether you have a budgeting issue. I'm a strict budgeting. Every penny that comes into my house, every penny that goes out of my house, I keep a track of it. To me, there was a time where my wife and I didn't go out for dinner or eating out at all because we had a big loan on our head, our student loan. Yeah. And so for me, is this a budgeting issue, or is this spending unnecessary, which is not necessary? Thirdly, if you believe, because I know when I started a job in America, I started with $4 an hour. Today, I don't make that much money, but I learned to live with $4 an hour at that time. Today, I make more, but still, I struggle with it. Is because sometimes my spending is more than what I earning is. My problem, most of the issues is our budgeting issues. How can we budget? Yes, if you want to do more, maybe you need to invest in studies or invest in doing something different, or perhaps ask God, can you open a door for me where I can do well academically, professionally, even monetarily? God wants to bless you, honestly. But the key thing is that if we are not faithful in ourselves, if you're going to just sit there and do nothing about it, I don't think so. It's going to just come in like a platter coming on your plate to get you the things what you need. End of the day, you need to work hard. You need to be perceptive. Ask your friends what you could do differently. But we know that there are certain things you cannot cross. There are certain abilities you may not be able to do. You cannot look at Ambani, who is the CEO of a big multi-million-dollar company in India, or perhaps Bill Gates, or perhaps Mark Zuckerberg. You can't look at them and say, hey, I'm going to be like them. No, that's not a gifting you ever had. If you had, you would be there by now. So my point is that we start looking at these pictures and these people out there who have succeeded in different life, and we think that is success. I'm telling you, we learn to get satisfied with what you have, learn to have budget, learn to have the relationship with your family, and strive. I'm not telling you to stay where you are. I'm telling you to strive. I'm telling you to work hard. I'm telling you to study. I'm telling you to ask people, make friends who would give you good advice, give them counsel. I'm telling you, do that. But don't just stay where you are. If you're just going to stay where you are and cry over it, then nobody can help you.
Okay. There's other questions here, but I don't know how they seem to be more. You seem to have covered them already, I think.
Okay.
You covered balance with personal life, balance career with personal life. You covered that. You covered sharing the gospel in the corporate culture. Basically, do your work first, and then build relationships, and then see what happens while you're not in work situations. In other words, don't use work time to proselytize or share the gospel because you need to have work done. Yeah, because they hired you for that purpose. That was the purpose they hired you. If you're going to misuse your time, then you're not a true Christian because you are being unethical. As a matter of fact, that's being unethical. Different than sharing something you're thinking about in the break room. Yeah. That may be different, or perhaps you may be meeting outside for a cup of coffee. That's a whole different thing. Now you're outside your work realm. Right. You can say, you know what, I'd love to discuss this with you. Can we meet for coffee somewhere, or share a small meal together outside over the weekend? Yes, that's absolutely fine, because then you're not interfering for what your employer has hired you for. Can your employer look at you and say, hey, I can trust this person even though he's a Christian? Even though, I love that. That's tough. Even though he's a Christian. No, you should be absolutely able to trust somebody because he's a Christian. But that's not the current scenario. Most of the Christians land up messing up. And because they don't fail to live up to the standards of true work ethics, and they have all these wrong impressions, and they land up messing up what they do. Couple other people say, how can I grow in my present company? How can I be successful in my internship? You can't answer those kind of questions without knowing specifics about their situation. So I think you've covered those quite effectively. At this point, I'm going to draw a Q&A time to the close. And thank you once again, brother, for sharing with us today. It was very informative.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for coming. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Sister Tinka Satabdi for some closing thoughts and the closing prayer time.
Thank you, Brother Stanley. It was so good. Some of the essence of what he said, I want to draw out and remind you one last time. He said that success is not just, making money. Success is your attitude. I remember the story where, the beggar on the street looks at the guy who has a bike and says that he's better off. And the guy who has a bike looks at the guy in the car because it's raining and it says, oh, he's better off. And, he's more happy. And the guy who's in the car, looks at the beggar and thinks that, oh man, his life is so simple and he must be so happy. So, we compare ourselves with each other without realizing that, success and happiness is a choice. And scripture says, rejoice in the Lord always. You can only rejoice truly when you are in the Lord. What does in the Lord mean? In the Lord is where you know who you are. Maybe, I am not as great as, some of the big shots in the world, but I am valued in the eyes of God. God created you so lovingly. And even if nobody understands how important and valuable you are, God knows that. And God, loves you so much that he demonstrated that. Think about the times where we messed up, and he took all our messes and he chose to die for us. He cried on the cross, Father, forgive them. Brother Stanley was talking about us struggling to forgive others. There are lots of times where we struggle, and God says that, forgive others, in a prayer, an exemplary prayer that Jesus had taught. I forgive others as you forgive us. God forgave you in Jesus Christ, where all the messes we made up in life, and all the times where we hurt others, where we hurt God, he took all of that upon himself and died on your and my behalf on the cross. And it was so painful. Think about Jesus. People looked at him and it's like, look at this guy. I mean, you was preaching so big things and you can't even save yourself. People were mocking at him. They did not realize who he was. People look at you and they don't realize who you are, but God does. And that's why he loves you. That's why he died for you. Only Jesus, only God who created you, loved you enough to prove to you that he loves you by dying on the cross. No other leaders, gurus, teachers, gods in this world demonstrated his love. Only Jesus. And he died, and people thought, that's the end of his thing. He was a complete failure. But guess what happened? The giver of life came back to life. And he says, because I came back to life, I'm giving my entire righteousness to you. You don't have to prove to yourself. You don't have to prove to somebody else. Believe in me. Believe in my love. And I am giving my entire righteousness to you. So you are accepted in the eyes of God, in spite of your messes, because those are accounted on the cross. And he gives his righteousness to you. So you are accepted in Jesus. You're accepted and loved in Jesus. And all you do is open your heart and say, God, maybe nobody understands or will ever understand me, but I thank you that you love me, and that's what matters. I am happy and I rejoice in the Lord. I rejoice because you loved me. And, more than my dad and mom, they love me, yes. More than my wife or my kids, they love me, yes. But so much more love you had for me, that you would die taking my mess and cleaning up my mess from my past and present and future, and giving me a hope. When life seems hard and nothing seems to be working, remember, God gives you hope, a real one, because he's coming back soon and he will take you. At the end of the day, let's say Jesus says, what happens if you gain the entire world and lose your soul? What's the point? At the end of the day, when Stanley Brother says you come with nothing and you take nothing and you die and you lose your soul, for what? But think about Jesus, who loved you enough that he was willing to shed his precious blood to redeem you. And when you ask him to come to your heart, you become God's son. You become God's daughter. He gives you a legal adoptive right. And that is on basis of that, you can say, my Father, I don't know what's going on. But like Brother Stanley's son, he can come to his dad anytime and say, what do you think? What do I do? You have then the access straight to God, your creator, though you can't see him. There's no picture, there's no statue, because God is spirit. And you can talk to him and say, God, I have no idea, but I need you to help me. I need you to work this out. You can just cry out to him and he will help you. He will. Maybe you're going through a tough time, but that is to change your character, to build you up, to teach you lessons, to teach you skills that you will need for your future, to teach you humility. Jesus humbled himself to the point of being a servant, to die on the cross for you and me. It's okay to be humble sometimes. We don't always have to be the one who's flying in the world. It's important to be humble. So God can raise you up. God will raise you up if you choose to humble in his presence. So close your eyes. And if you have never accepted Jesus as your savior, just say, God, I know I sinned and I messed up many times. Just like people have sinned against me, I've sinned against you. And I need you to forgive me. I thank you that Jesus died for me. And I believe that because he rose again, you and I put my faith in you, I today am your son. Please, God, come into my heart, forgive me and make me your son. And I know I have a future because it's secure in Jesus. I can rejoice because I'm in the Lord. I will rejoice in the Lord because you love me, you value me. So close your eyes and pray with me and just submit and just open up your heart and just ask him to come. Heavenly Father, Lord, thinking about all the things that we discussed today, Lord, in this world, we are all in a rat race trying to achieve success. But God, at the end of the day, the most successful people end their lives and they cannot, they have no joy. But your word says, rejoice in the Lord, because joy comes in Jesus. The time, even when the world celebrates Christmas, there is an amount of joy because there is joy in Jesus, because only you, Lord, loved us. You valued us. You saw that, Lord, you created us, so you know how valuable we are in your eyes. We are your children. And thank you that you redeemed us through the precious blood of Jesus. Lord, if there is one brother or one sister hearing me now who has not till now made that confession and has not become your daughter and son yet, Lord, let this time be the moment of their salvation, that they would just open their heart and receive you. And from today, they would have the hope. And today, they would have the relationship. And from today, they would be your children. Master, we submit this time and this coming days to you. All those who are struggling, be it in their families, in their personal lives, in their relationships, God, that you meet them and you give them wisdom and you help them and give them the physical strength, the emotional strength to keep working hard, because you are a God who works. You are a God who loves. You are a God who helps. Help us to be like you, Lord, and let your name be glorified. Bless Brother Stanley. Bless Carrie as she led. Bless all the people who are here. Let your hand of blessings be upon all of us. And we submit this time to you, giving you all the glory and honor and praise and thanks. We pray this in the blessed name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.